Okay, let's dive in. We're all very familiar now with AI assistants, right? Tools, models helping us make decisions, commutes, investments, you name it.
Sure, that's become commonplace.
But we're moving way past just assistants. We really need to talk about what happens when the AI isn't just, suggesting things.
When it's actually making the calls, the big corporate decisions.
Exactly. The rise of autonomous AI in corporate governance, moving beyond assistants right into, well, the AI director role.
And that leap from advisory tool to genuine operational autonomy, that's really the heart of our deep dive today. Our sources, they're mainly built around a really detailed analysis presented back in 2023. Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology, they laid out the whole field based on the challenges, the legal side, the tech needed, and the huge regulatory questions we need to sort out.
Right. So our mission here is to cut through the noise, understand the key forces at work. We need to get our heads around the legal ideas that even allow AI into the boardroom, the tech that's actually making it happen in big companies now. And this is crucial, the whole fairness and accountability piece when an algorithm's in charge.
And to really grasp how fast this is moving, you kind of have to look back at the predictions. Remember that World Economic Forum report, 2015? Deep shift technology tipping points.
Vaguely, yeah.
How?
What do they say?
Well, they actually put a date on it. They forecast the first AI system would join a corporate board by 2026.
2026.
Okay.
And knowing how tech goes, I bet that didn't quite hold up.
Not even close. That forecast got smashed pretty quickly. We didn't even get through 2015 before things started happening. Yeah.
No.
The first big announcement, the one that got headlines, was actually 2014. Deep Knowledge Ventures, it's a Hong Kong VC firm. They announced they'd appointed Vital to their board. Vital stood for Validating Investment Tool for Advancing Life Sciences.
Vital. I do remember that. But Vital was mostly about checking investments, right?
Yeah.
Like a super smart advisor on the board.
That's a fair distinction, yeah. Primarily focused on investment validation, a very sophisticated advisory role.
Okay.
But the speed, that's the real story here, the jump from advisory to executive.
Well,
Because just 2 years later, 2016, Tieto, big Nordic tech company, listed on NASDAQ Nordic.
I know to you.
Right. They appointed an AI called Alicia T as a top manager for a new business unit.
A top manager. So not just advice anymore.
Exactly. Alicia T was put on the operational leadership team of a public company. That's a whole different level.
Wow. So theory to advisory in 2014, then bam, operational management in a public company just 2 years later. That's really moving. Which brings up the big question, the really fundamental one. How on earth can the law even recognize software as having the kind of authority a human director has?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. The linchpin, legally speaking, is that the global standards for corporate governance, they're surprisingly open. If you look at the G20 OECD principles of corporate governance, the global benchmark for how boards should run, they actually don't require a director to be a human, a physical individual.
Seriously, the main global principles just don't specify that. They leave that door open.
They do. Whether it was deliberate or an oversight, who knows? But the text doesn't mandate a human director. It defers that detail, essentially.
And that's the gap. That's the basis for all this.
That's the legal opening. And it's an opening that's already used, in a way. Think about the concept of a corporate director. It already exists, where a company, like a holding company or a trustee, acts as a board member.
Okay. So the idea of a non-human entity holding that power isn't totally new.
Structurally, no. It's established precedent.
So the shift is less radical than it sounds. It's going from one kind of non-human corporation to another kind of algorithm.
Yeah.
But this thinking, it's not brand new either, is it?
Not at all. Goes way back. 1970s. Professor Mir Dan Cohen, he came up with this concept of the impersonal corporation.
Impersonal corporation.
Yeah, basically a fully automated company. His point was that swapping human managers for computers wouldn't fundamentally change the legal status of the corporation itself, because the corporation is already an abstract legal thing.
That's quite some foresight back in 1970. Okay, so fast forward. How did we get from that theory to something legally practical? Just calling an algorithm impersonal probably doesn't work in court.
No, you need a structure. That's where Professor Sean Byron's work comes in. He showed you could effectively give an algorithm legal personality.
Oh.
By putting it under the control of an LLC, a limited liability company.
The LLC wrapper.
Exactly. The LLC is the legal container. The algorithm operates through the LLC, giving it a defined legal status to perform its functions. It's a functional legal setup.
So the law needed a bit of clever packaging, using an existing tool. And that practical step seems to be what unleashed all this new terminology we're seeing.
Totally. Suddenly, everyone needed precise ways to talk about it. Lynn Lopoki called it an algorithmic entity, an algorithm doing the job of a legal entity. Then you got John Armour and Horst Eidenreihler in 2019 popularizing the self-driving company. Great analogy, right? Like autonomous cars.
Yeah, that one clicks. And I think the terms about the board itself are really interesting. Martin Petrin's fused board.
I like that one too.
Because it suggests all those different human director roles, finance expert, industry expert, legal oversight, all get sort of condensed or fused into one piece of software.
Right. It's about integrating those human functions. Then Gian Mosco talks about a robo-board, a whole board made of AI directors. And Florian Muslin links it to DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, calling the AI agents robot directors. So yeah, the conceptual toolkit is definitely getting built out.
Okay, so that's the legal and theoretical side sorted, more or less. Let's switch to the practical. How are companies actually doing this now?
The sources mention two main routes. These huge digital command centers, or DCCs, or automating specific board functions bit by bit. Yeah, the DCC approach is really where you see it operationally today. The ADNOC Panorama Digital Command Center is a prime example. It's massive. This thing doesn't just show data, it pulls in real-time info from like over a dozen subsidiaries, joint ventures.
Wow.
And it uses AI and smart analytics to generate operational recommendations, conclusions, all centralized.
So it's less like a dashboard and more like the company's brain. Sources called it a digital factory for information processing, right? What does that actually mean in practice?
It means the whole chain gathering data, analyzing it, figuring out what to do is super fast and well automated. The benefits are clear, lower agency costs because tracking is instant, and much better transparency and accountability because everything's logged digitally in real time. The why behind a decision is recorded.
And the tech making that possible must be pretty advanced.
Oh yeah, cutting edge. Panorama DCC uses a lot of digital twin tech, so they have real-time virtual models of their physical operations. And they use blockchain for secure records and data storage. So while ADNOC might not have officially appointed director HAL 9000, the actual decision-making machinery is heavily automated. The humans are relying almost entirely on the AI's output.
It's that difference between the formal title and the actual function, isn't it?
Exactly.
Okay, and the other path, automating specific functions. That sounds more like building towards that fused board idea gradually.
Precisely. There was that research mentioned from 2021, U.S. universities, Ohio State, Colorado, Washington. They were specifically using machine learning to help select board members.
Ah, okay. So picking one complex board job and building an AI module for it.
Right. You automate enough of those functions piece by piece, and eventually you've effectively built your fused board from the ground up.
So the tech is pushing ahead, whether the legal titles catch up or not, which of course brings us straight to the regulatory headache. If these systems are basically acting like managers or directors, they need to meet the same standards humans do.
That's the bottom line, legally. Same strict rules. Non-discrimination, transparency, accountability. It's non-negotiable. But managing AI risk, it really comes down to those three things. Can you make it transparent? Can you explain its decisions? And who is ultimately accountable?
But if fairness is the goal, the sources pointed out bias can sneak in everywhere, right? Input data, the training process, the actual programming, garbage in, biased output out.
Which leads straight to the classic black box problem. An algorithm denies someone credit or flags an employee unfairly. How do you explain why? The EU is really trying to tackle this head-on, talking about a right to explanation for citizens affected by significant algorithmic decisions.
But there's an amazing historical parallel in the U.S. that really puts this explainability issue in perspective. You know, the Fair Credit Reporting Act from 1970 and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, 1974.
Absolutely. Those were landmark laws.
They banned discrimination in credit, obviously, but the key part was they required lenders to give clear, understandable reasons for denying credit.
Not just a suggestion, a legal mandate. You had to explain your decision in plain English.
And the knock-on effect of that is the really fascinating part, isn't it?
It is. It's widely thought that the reason U.S. credit scoring systems often aren't these super complex, totally opaque black boxes
is because they legally couldn't be. They had to be simple enough to explain.
Exactly. The need for explainability, baked into law decades ago, likely shaped the kind of algorithms that became dominant in that industry. Compliance drove the tech architecture.
That's a powerful precedent. It shows regulation can steer how the technology itself develops. If you mandate accountability, complexity might have to give way to clarity.
Hugely important for thinking about AI governance going forward.
So if we pull back and look at the whole journey we've mapped out, we've gone from this abstract, impersonal corporation idea in the 70s to, well, real-world digital factories like AD&OC's basically running parts of the business today. The speed is just undeniable.
And that rapid convergence, that acceleration, it brings up the idea of technological singularity. Not the, sci-fi robots take over singularity.
Right, not Skynet?
No, but singularity applied to business competition.
Okay, tell me more about that. A corporate singularity.
The idea is pretty straightforward. Companies that successfully implement these highly efficient AI management systems, making faster, better decisions, they gain a massive competitive edge. That efficiency lets them pile up resources way faster than rivals, which then lets them afford even better AI systems.
It's a feedback loop, an upward spiral of efficiency.
Exactly, leaving the companies still relying on slower, human-only processes further and further behind. That gap could become huge.
Almost impossible to close. And the takeaway from the sources seems clear. Even if regulators step in tomorrow and say no AI directors allowed, formally,
companies will still push towards autonomous management internally. Through these DCCs, through automating functions, the competitive pressure for efficiency is just too strong.
the market demands it.
Pretty much. And that relentless drive for efficiency, it leads to one final, maybe slightly unsettling thought for you to chew on.
Okay, hit me with it.
If the ultimate goal is efficiency, and that means decisions get made faster and faster, eventually at machine speed microseconds, not months in a boardroom, will the biggest regulatory challenge in the future be about ensuring human accountability for those super fast decisions? Or will it actually be about regulating the sheer speed, the velocity of the autonomous corporate decision-making process itself?
Regulating the speed of business. That's definitely something to think about. We'll leave you with that thought.